Welcome to Badger Talks Quick Picks, which brings exciting happenings, resources, and talent from your UW flagship campus to the people of Wisconsin and beyond. I'm Talia Cohen, a clinical psychology PhD student at UW-Madison. I'm honored to introduce a group today that I've had the privilege to be a part of over the last few years. The people you see on this screen represent a unique community academic partnership working to improve mental health outcomes within the criminal legal system. Today, we will show you what it looks like to build an effective, equitable, and authentic community university partnership from the ground up. We will discuss the birth and evolution of our collaboration and how rejecting research as usual has led to innovative projects with the potential to transform the mental health of system-impacted individuals. Our team, which combines many types of expertise, demonstrates the best of both worlds, as one of our members, Aaron, coined early on. I will now quickly introduce our team before we head into discussion. They can all give a little wave when I say their names. From the Nehemiah Center for Urban Leadership Development, we have Dr. Karen Reece, the Vice President of Research and Education, and Aaron Hicks, the Reentry Coordinator, who uses his lived experience of incarceration to advocate for and help other system-impacted individuals. Next up is Deb Mejchar, who has direct experience of incarceration, as well as a lengthy career working as a chaplain in multiple Wisconsin state prisons. From UW-Madison, we have Dr. Mike Koenigs, a professor in the Department of Psychiatry, and Dr. Dan Grupe, a research assistant professor at the Center for Healthy Minds. And last but not least, Dr. Carmen Alonso, a licensed clinical psychologist whose nonprofit organization, Just Mindfulness, works to implement mindfulness-based interventions with a social justice orientation. Carmen will start us off today by talking about how this research partnership started. Carmen?
Sure, yes, thank you for the invitation. And it's been really wonderful actually to reflect on how we all came together. It's almost like a confluence of rivers, a confluence of beautiful people coming together to co-create something really beautiful, I think. The history with some of the rivers, some of the people go farther. Like the first person of the team that I met was Dan Grupe. Dan was in one of my mindfulness classes in 2016. And then with Dan, we work and collaborated with his dissertation, working with veterans and doing a mindfulness and martial arts intervention. Then we have done some work with police officers and more recently with people who have a history of incarceration or people who are still incarcerated. So we go far. Then the next person I met was the next person that joined here. The dynamics was Deb. In 2019, I was doing a mindfulness class in one of the prisons, and Deb was a chaplain in that prison. And Deb made it all happen, really, like you may learn that she does. And there was this great curriculum, and before we know it, we have a list of 80 men ready to roll, and that Deb put together, and we started with 30. So that was a great connection right there. Then with that same curriculum, Aaron comes into the picture, and we co-facilitated that same curriculum, Path of Freedom, for people who were incarcerated. We were going to do it in person. We were super excited, but then the pandemic hit, and then we did recordings of the sessions that then were distributed to many other institutions. And then with Mike, we had conversations about the health from the psychological and spiritual perspective, really, how to best care for women who were incarcerated. Mike had been doing for many years, work with women in one of the prisons. And then we had conversations, and then Mike and Dan started this project together that they wanted to do with defining and designing an app, a mindfulness app for people who are incarcerated. And that led to conversations with people who have had that history and the connections here. And then Karen works with Aaron. And whenever you do any research in this area, you have to have Karen, because Karen is one of these people who knows a lot about many things. So you have to have Karen. And then Talia was working with Mike. So it was this confluence again in the spring of 2021 that we came together. And it's almost like we took off and running with all the offerings that we have been doing and many more to come. So I feel really privileged to be with this group.
Thanks, Carmen. Yeah, you can see that there's so many relationships here, and that's really how we built. Karen, how have people approached Nehemiah in the past for research, and what was different this time?
Yeah, Nehemiah is a Black-led organization, and we work with Black communities. So we get requests fairly often from UW researchers who are doing different kinds of studies, but want to access the communities we work with for their research participants. And usually this is asking for someone to participate in a survey or a focus group. But the requests come from people usually that we don't know and don't have a relationship with. And sometimes it's people who don't really have a full understanding or relationship with the communities that they want to work with. And so when people approach us, we ask the researcher questions about how are they doing the work? What kinds of questions are they asking? What kind of compensation are they providing to the participants? And what is their overall research question? So we want to make sure that the work that they're doing aligns with the interests and needs of the community. And we also want to make sure that the process of doing the research isn't going to cause harm to our community or exploit people that are participating. And this is usually done without the intention of harm, but it really just comes from that lack of relationship. And so usually the researchers that we talk to, either they're not really interested in the conversation because they believe that, they've worked out in their expertise how to do the study and aren't interested in sort of working on that, or they don't really have the time built in to their projects or in their funding structures for that true community input that just takes time beyond those surveys or interviews. So in this partnership, Dan and Mike, when we first had our first meeting, we proposed to them that we look at this as an equal partnership. So the university partners and the Nehemiah partners and other community partners are all bringing an equal level of expertise and knowledge to the project. And we need to make sure that we have a setup that allows for the input of and consideration of all the members of the group. And so we did this from the top to the bottom. So from our meeting agendas, we went from a less agenda focused, efficient, what's viewed as efficient structure to a more relational conversational agenda. And we really blended our personality styles and our interests to the point where we had a project that really represented the needs of the community, the needs of the researchers, and we moved forward from there. So it's been really exciting to see that evolve.
Thanks, Karen. Erin, can you tell us why it's important to involve people with lived experience in the research process?
Absolutely. First, thank you, Karen, for laying that out. That was beautiful. But with that being said, the importance it's so vital that you have lived experience at the table. The more I've learned about research, it's given me a greater understanding to some of the things that people do in research. It also has given me a greater understanding of blind spots. And so I feel like lived experience can fill in some of those blind spots, and it can give you some accurate information that will take the research to a whole nother level. And I think it's a greater impact for individuals to utilize men and women who have been impacted, because that lived experience, I promise, will fill in a lot of the blanks in areas that you didn't see or that you didn't think about or that you didn't consider. And kind of just going back to some of the things that Karen was talking about, this is also a way in which you can make sure that the community at large is not harmed, nor is the individual harmed in any way, shape, or form. So just taking those steps to use to really fully make that research impactful, influential, and life-changing, I feel like it's more than appropriate to use individuals who have that lived experience. And it has been an amazing journey.
Erin, you have completely impacted and adjusted how we do research. And so you've been such a vital part of our research team. I know, Mike, that your perspective on research has also changed a lot because of your interactions with Erin and other people. Can you tell us a little bit about how your research has changed as a result of this community academic partnership?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's changed dramatically in almost every way. Really just at the most general level, thinking about the function of research. You know, I came up as a basic scientist in neuroscience, and you really had the perspective that the function of research was to generate knowledge, you know, and so what we would do is we would scour the academic literature, trying to find, new avenues for investigation, formulate hypotheses, test those hypotheses, study, collect data, analyze data, publish the paper, and move on. And now I see the function of research really to help people, directly and immediately help people. And the way you do that is, like Erin was saying, you involve people who are impacted, the issues that you're studying in that process. And so our research is very different now, in terms of how we formulate questions and think about studies. We have formal meetings as an entire group where we discuss these things and bring a lot of different voices and experiences to the table. And those have been very productive in terms of generating studies and, thinking about how we want to do things. But we're just as likely to have a, random phone call like, hey, how you doing? That just starts a conversation. And over the course of that, hey, what about this? Or did you meet this person? Or, I heard this thing. And, we just get the ball rolling and in all sorts of ways. And so it just really boils down to having that kind of open communication and relationship. And so for me personally, it's been a career-changing, life-changing experience. And I just get so much more meaning and satisfaction out of the work that we're doing now.
Thanks, Mike. Deb, I'd love to ask you a similar question. You've become a research powerhouse in the last couple of years. So how has your view on research changed as a result of this partnership?
Okay, so I just want to be really transparent here. And just the word research used to just freak me out. I thought research was people compiling some information, getting in other people's business, typing it all up or writing it all up into a document and just filing it away somewhere for other people to maybe read or not read, and then collect some kind of paycheck for the research that doesn't do anything for anybody. That was my whole opinion. And part of it was wrong before, not all of it. Part of it was wrong before I became a part of this group, but this has changed everything for me and for many individuals who I deal with all the time because they're here. Like, I know I only have a few minutes here, but it's hard to explain how fluid we all are together, how we get, I know I do and others do too. You just get prompted through conversations. Things just keep growing. Some very successful offerings and initiatives have come from us just being together, from having conversations. And it's just changed everything for me. And here I find myself, everybody ready? I find myself researching. So I think that says it all. Thank you, Talia. And thanks everybody for all the sharing that happened already this morning. I really appreciate it. I love being with all of us being together. Thanks.
Thanks, Deb. So we've already accomplished a lot as a team, but Dan, can you tell us what you see as the future goals and next steps of this partnership?
Yeah, so we've invested a lot of time and a lot of energy to this point, building relationships, establishing trust among this group, and in the larger community through all the connections that we have. And we see these relationships as really being foundational to what we think can be truly transformational work going forward. And we're already starting to see that. We've established a community advisory board, which consists entirely of people who have lived experiences of incarceration. That group meets every month. It's been meeting for almost 2 years. And with that group, we're developing what is really an agenda going forward for what is the future of our research on mental health as it relates to the criminal legal system look like. And we're now getting to the point where we're able to start implementing some of these project ideas that have come directly from that advisory board and from community partners. And a common theme running through all of that is the power of peers. So peers who have lived experiences of incarceration. Mike's group is working on a peer facilitated trauma treatment that Deb is involved in co-facilitating those groups. We're thinking about how do we equip peers who have lived experience to incorporate mindfulness practices into the professional work that they do. And coming directly from Deb and an idea that she had, we're looking at peers who are offering support services within prisons and asking, how do we support these individuals in doing the important work that they're doing? And as a result, how do we increase the impact of that work? Taking a step back, I think a future goal for me, at least for this partnership, is that I'm no longer the person who's defining these future goals. Continuing to move further along the spectrum of community engaged research, where the communities are the ones who are defining the goals, determining the scope of the project, and only at that point inviting us in from the university and saying, can you contribute your specific skills and knowledge and expertise to help us make this project happen? And I think when we get to that point, that will be a pretty good indicator that we're on the right track with this work.
Thanks, Dan. I'm really excited to see those goals materialize. I think we all hope that this conversation has helped others understand the importance of incorporating a lot of different types of expertise. To end, we'll each just share one word that sticks out to us about our partnership and our group together. I'll start and then we can go in the order that we spoke. So my word is connection.
My word is reverence.
Innovation.
Liberating.
Inspiring.
Relational.
Transformational.
Great. Thanks so much, everyone. It's nice to be with you always. And
Yes.
good job.